Oizvov. So the Rebbe now connects these two madreges in Echod, like we said, the 13 Gimel Midas Harachamim. Whether we bring down the Aleph to the Yud Beis, or the higher madrege, the Yud Beis goes up to the Aleph, and the Rebbe ties this in to the Geula taking place on both Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz. The Yud Beis was the time that the notice came of the freedom of the Friedrich Rebbe. That was like bringing down the Aleph, the Blik Vul, into the Yud Beis, into the Gevul. But the actual Geula, which took place on Yud Gimel Tammuz, which is the level of Echad, the higher level in which the Geula Bepoiled came about. But yes, lekasher zei mechaga Geula Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz, we can tie this in with the festival of redemption of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz. Shebe Yud Beis Tammuz Yom HaHileta Shel Bala Geula. On Yud Beis Tammuz, which was the birthday of the Bal HaGeula, of the Friedrich Rebbe, they notified him that an order has come to free him. But the actual redemption took place on the 30th of Tammuz. So we can say the fact that on the 12th of Tammuz they notified him about the freedom. That's the idea of Yud Beis, the Aleph coming down to Yud Beis. But since the 12th, when it's in its place, even when you bring down the Aleph into the Yud Beis, it still remains Gevul. And that's why on the 12th on Yud Beis was still before the actual Geulah. Because the idea of redemption is that it's higher than measure and limitation. The Rebbe says this idea that it's higher than limitation, the Rebbe is going to say, and it expounds even over many generations later, even not only in the time of there, and it expands to all Yid. Especially according to what's explained in the letter of the Balagula. That came as an introduction to the Mamer that the Rebbe is chazering now of Asora Shiושבין. So what is the Rebbe right over there, the Friedrich Rebbe? It is not just him, which is the Friedrich Rebbe, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed, Elogam, as Kol Yisrael, but all Yidden Eibishter redeemed them. Koilel, Gam Elu Asher B'Shem Yisrael, Yechuna. It's also those who are just called Yid. They're not really in practice, but they're called Yid Yechuna. So they too are freed. And the Rebbe adds, it's also for all the generations to come. This includes also the generation that follow. The redemption basically is a continuous one. That continues to bring redemption to all Yidden in all generations. Redemption as it is connected to study of Torah, the key mitzvah in terms of mitzvah shalem, V'gam geula, and also a geula b'negei l'inyanim hagashmim shalom. Also redemption for the physical matters. All generations, all spiritual matters, and all physical matters, which includes bani, chayim, zoini, children, life, and food. They should all be in a comfortable way. That's geula. They should all be beyond any measure of limitation. We say to Mizu, and even more than that, that geula is basically gimel tamus is gam hagdoma v'hachona the geula hamitis v'hashleima the Mashiach tzidkenu. That's introduction and a preparation for the true and complete redemption through Mashiach tzidkenu. She'oz yia hamitis ha'inyan de l'maylo m'medida v'hagbola. Then will be the true concept of beyond measure and limitation. So Yud Beis was the notice, but it wasn't Geula yet, because Geula is l'maylo m'medida v'hagbola. When the Aleph comes down to the Yud Beis, it remains Yud Beis, still it's still Mugba. Geula b'poil hoyso b'Yud Gimel b'gematria echad. So the Geula Poil was in Yud Gimel, which is the gematria of one. It all became one in the higher level. Shah Yud Beis Salim ba'Aleph. That Yud Beis goes up to the Aleph. The Mailam Hagbola above of any limitation. Now we're going to see the Mamer discusses how, even though Torah is Amshochem Milmaila, Tefillah we ask Hashem and we get responded, but Torah in general came down from Hashem, and yet we need to work to bring it down. We're going to learn different ways to work it down, to bring it down. Different is Aruso de Tato, either through first davening and the work of effort in Torah. The Mamer, although Torah is extending from above to below, also in Torah there needs to be work and effort to bring down to get Torah. We have two aspects in this service of Torah. One through davening beforehand, and two by working hard beforehand. Working hard in Torah. In order for the study of the Torah to be properly, you have to come by the introduction of Avodas HaTfilah, the service of davening. That's the effort of the Torah, the Sarusa de Latato. The Avodah V'Yigia is by davening first, Avodas HaTfilah. Because if a person shall say, as our sages tell us, Ein the Torah, Afilu Torah doesn't even have Torah. And also, the second thing is that the study of Torah needs to be with hard work and effort. Also, in the effort that we put into Torah, there is two parts to the effort. One, just trying to try to figure out, and two, by breaking your nature, learning more than you're used to. In the effort of Torah, there's two aspects. So one aspect is tefillah, then the aspect in Torah. Within Torah, we have two aspects. The effort in understanding Torah, which is, we say, yogaiti umotsasi, that when we put an effort, we will find. And also when we put an effort to Torah, in which we change our nature and our habits and what we're used to. The Mamer Azal, as our sages of Blessed Memory tell us, it's not the same one who studies the chapter 100 times, he's not called an Oved Elikim. To one who learns 101 times, he reviews it one extra time than he's comfortable. That's when we call him a servant of Hashem, because he does that extra. That's the second level of the second aspect of effort. Effort in trying to understand, and effort to do more than what you used to. What the Rebbe is asking now, when we consider these two preparation, it seems like, or the investment, the work, the most important part is the work in Torah itself. But you also need the introduction of Avodas HaTefillah, that's also an effort. But why does the Rebbe first talk about Avodas HaTefillah, and then he goes on to talk about the effort about changing yourself? The Rebbe brings down that actually the whole idea of Asara, Sheushin, which you need, which has a special effort, it all has to do with the tefillah. That is the opening, and comes before everything else. Let's see inside. So the Rebbe first asks, we need to understand. What is the idea of this Rusal Tat in Torah? It seems it's mainly by Yigia Shetzricha Liyus, the Limbudat Torah Atzmi. That's the effort that needs to take place in study of Torah. Torah has to be done with effort. That's the Yigia of Torah. But the Mamer, the order in the Mamer, but the order in the Mamer of the Friedrich Rebbe of Asara Shiyoshvin, first he explains that in order for the learning of Torah should be properly, you need the work and the effort of the davening. And then later on he says, and it's as if an additional thing, as if something addition, that you need effort in Torah itself. And the Rebbe will point out that in Tanya, which is a similar idea, over there the order is reversed. First it's Yigia, and then Tefillah. Reversed, and the Rebbe is going to explain what's Negeya to Tanya is that Inyan. Oh, here it's different. Let's look inside. To point out that also in Tanya he talks about these two efforts of Avodah with regards to Torah. That Hagiya b'Torah, the work in Torah, by Hagiya b'Avodas Havaya, and the effort in the service of Hashem, davening. B'chlal, she'ikar Havodah, Avodas HaTefillah. Though it talks about Avodah, but Avodah is the Tefillah. But we say that in Yonim Shebetanya, what's the order in Tanya? Shebetchila, maybe a posik. In the beginning, he brings the pasuk Ushaftemur Isam Goimer Ben Eved Elikim Lasher Loi Avode. That one who serves Hashem and doesn't serve, that's the first thing. He talks about Avodah. The pasuk Ze Isa Bigamora. This pasuk, what is called an Eved Elikim, is this breaking your habit, learning extra. The pasuk Isa Bigamora She Eved Elikim Hu. Who's a servant of God? One who studies 101 times. Shinu Tevari Gilus Torah to change the usual, the way you're trained normally. Torah. That's the avodah. That's the first discussion there, talking about avodah within Torah itself. Shinu Tevari Gilus Torah to change the nature of what you're accustomed to instead of Torah. Mamer Azal and this Mamer Azal, Moker La Mevuir Shom. This is the source that's explained here. Shegam Kiyum Kol HaMitzvos Befrat Avodas HaTefillah, that the observance of all mitzvahs, especially the mitzvah of service of the davening, tzarich li'zbay from zeh to break your nature, daven more. So we see That first he talks about the Gilus. And then that this is also Avedis Atfila. But by us, Avedis Atfila comes first. The fact that the order of these matters in the Mamer are just the opposite than the order of the Tanya. This is more evidence that the order of these ideas mentioned in the Mamer, first talking about Avedis Hatfila, and then talking about changing your nature. In the Mamer, it's precise, since he changes it from the way it's written in the Tanya. Ches. Will understand it by first explaining the specific language in the Mamer, the emphasis in the Mamer, Hagam Shetoira Hamshocha Milmayla Lamata. Although he starts off that you still need Avodah, although the Torah is Hamshocha Milmayla Lamata, as the Rebbe started off also in Ois Zayit. That's the way he starts off this idea. So what does he say? Torah Hamshocha Milmayla Lamata. Labir B'Zeh Pashtu. So what does that mean? The Kivon Shetoira Hamshocha Milmayla Lamato. Since Torah comes down, extends from above to below, in Torah B'Rabbi. Here the Rebbe is explaining that we need a Rabbi, Asora Sheyeshu, for Torah. And he complains, it compares it to Tefillah, which is B'Rabbi. But L'chaira, the Rebbe introduces. But why would we need a Rabbi when it comes to Torah, which is Momayla? When we talk about davening, which is Dam Shachar comes through the work of the law, we need that the service of the Mata should be a service of Rabbi. As opposed to Torah, which is Am Shachar. It seems like, what would be the difference if the ones below Rabbi Yochid, it comes from Milo, it's not Hinsharam Lamat. So, therefore, the main thing is that it comes through Avodas Atfilah. Based on its known, why is it the reason that why is it in Ratzon Chodesh that comes through davening? That is because the great elevation of bringing up the Mayim from Dal, the Serus Tato, which is the Mais Yodecha Tichsoy. Shem yearns for your actions, for your Serus Tato, Yesh Loimar. So we can say that it's not only, as we're saying now, why do we need a Tfilas Rabbim? A Yochid should be enough. But we say on the other hand, we don't even need a Yochid altogether. We don't need anybody. So also on the other hand, not that you, why would you need 10? I'm sorry, not why do you need 10, but even how could 10 bring it down? Since it comes milmayla lamato. So how are they going to bring it down? Because you don't have the maila like you have by tefillah. The key on shahat Torah. Yam shacham milmayla, since Torah comes milmayla, gam ayidei limut Torah derabim, even when Torah derabim, you cannot bring down such a great hamshocha like through tefillah, even of the Rabbi. So, what is this? Torah barab. Hey, why do we need a Rabbi? And B, on the other hand, how could even the Rabbim bring it down? And because of that point, the Rebbe needs to explain how this all works, and that's why it has to come through the tefillah. So this we can explain now. The order of the ideas in the Mamer. First, he explains the work and the effort of davening. That needs to be for the learning of Torah. And then he brings down the effort and the work of the Torah itself. Why this order? The main avodah yigi is not the work so much in limud Torah itself, but it's the avodas hatfilah. Stop. That's what it's called, the service work. General stop work is tefillah. Work means you change your nature, what you're used to. That mainly happens through the service of davening. You change around your nature, especially through the Amida prayer, the standing davening. Person who davens is like a master, like a servant, facing the master in front of the master. Bittul betachlis, total bittul. That's why you change your nature, because you're non-existent, non-entity. That's why the Mamer proceeds to say first the work and the effort of davening, which is for the learning of Torah. Because the work and the effort of Esek Torah itself doesn't have the power to bring down the Hamshacha, which is not comparable to the way at all. Doesn't bring down what Tefillah can bring down. Torah's effort, Sarusa Dilatato, even with a minion, will not bring it down. The fact that through the limud of Torah Rabbim you bring down Hamshacha, which is not compared to the way at all, that is similar to the Hamshacha to the Rabbim. That's mainly for the avodah of davening, which you do for the learning of Torah. You daven for Torah, that gives the Torah the ability to bring down Hamshacha Shalei Leferach Havidikla. So why don't we just leave it by that? And why do we need the other avodah? Why do we need the person's yigia? We need to change his yigilus. That's not sufficient, this explanation. Ki b'Torah Hamshacha Shalei Leferach Halah. This Hamshacha that is uncomparable, not comparable to the Allah, that comes down in knowing and understanding Torah. The person's success, in knowing and understanding Torah, that's beyond, way beyond, uncomparable to the effort that he put in. He gets a lot more, his understanding and knowledge of Torah. That's what we need, the effort and changing your nature and what you're accustomed to in learning Torah itself. You have to learn it 101 times. You have to put effort. When you do that, halimud shaloi, his study who kli lahamshocha tefillah. That becomes a vessel to that which comes through the tefillah to enter his learning, when his effort that he puts in, and he learns more than his nature and the effort. So we feel Esek HaTorah. So when he davens for the learning of Torah, that level that he attains, the highest level, filters into the Torah, and Torah he needs to put it up in order to come in the idea of Avona, and he's able to grasp and be enlightened in uncomparable in Yonim that rest in his Torah. Yes, Lahisif. And the Rebbe says we can add the Biur HaShayches Da Shoyne Pirkei Meya Pamim Ve'echad. Learning 101 times Hayigia the Shinu HaTeva Regil Limud HaTorah. This means we're talking about the effort in changing your nature. One effort in learning, the other effort is changing the nature and what you're accustomed to Torah. So there's a connection to explain to Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, to the 13 attributes of mercy. Saying the cloud with Mamshich, the higher, uncomparable. But this is the level that's uncomparable, is higher than the Shtalshlus, is Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. But we say that learning Pamei Echad, Gam Halimud the Meya Pamim Shalifni Zeh, Uboifin Shal HaAvodah. Then the 100 times that you learned beforehand is also becomes like avodah. The dugmas avur l'ilsif hey b'misper yud gimel, as we said before, in the number 13, the 13 attributes of mercy, that when you add the echad, nase ilui, it brings advantage shinu ha'esof al kopar b'yud beis, that brings a change, which means that's the higher level when it goes up to a higher than Ishtaushlus, or a Sofa when you bring the Gligvul into the Gvul HaKoponim by basing the 12. So when you change your nature, it's not only that one extra impacts all the rest, just like the 13 impacts the 12. The one impacts the 12 to make the change. Yes. Yes, Levayer. In the teaching of the Magid that was brought down the Mamer earlier. He said, Kale, no. So he mentions Kale, the Midah the first measure of Hashem Kale. Kale is the first Midah. Hashem says to him, Kal v'chomer. Hashem told him, Midah Rishona, Yud Gimel Midah Shater Nidreshes, which is the first of the 13 attributes that the Torah is expounded. So he says there, Medayik, Shemoshe Bitfilosei, Amar Kel no, Refon no lo. That Moshe in his davening, I mean, we're talking about the Kal v'chomer, which is more Torah. Why does he bring down tefillah? Because this is the idea we're talking about here, the tefillah that elevates the Torah. I'm a kale notifon. Yes, Leimer Shadiv bitfillah, when he says, Moshe bitfillah hu leramis, she'iker hamshachas yud gimel midas arachim shalomaylam nishtalstus. The main extension of the 13 attributes of mercy, which is higher than nishtalstus, bitfillah. That comes from tefillah. Then this hamshocha comes down also in the Torah to get from the Gimel Midas Sarach. Zeu gam hatam the inyan hamshocha shaloi lifa'erech ha-Torah, the inyan hamshocha shaloi lifa'erech ha-Allah shall they Torah the Rabbim. The reason that this whole idea that the hamshocha is uncomparable to the Allah that takes to the Torah Rabbim, made him hamshocha shal the Tefillah Rabbim. That's where we learn it from the Tefillah Rabbim. Because the main and the source of this is in davening, and then it extends into Torah. The Rebbe says that the Inyan Zeh also hinted in the 2 Kapitlach Tehillim for the birthday, which changes from the birthday. So it used to be Kuf Beis, ending Kuf Beis and starting Kuf Gimel, and there's a hint of these ideas. The Inyan Zesha, the Atfila, that through the Tefillah, this brings it down also in Torah, is Merumas Gam B'Shnei HaKapitlach Tehillim HaShayochim L'Yom HaLedes, that is hinted in the two Kapitlach Tehillim that have a connection to Yom HaLedes. The Baal HaGeula B'Shon Hazu of the Baal HaGeula of the Friedrich Rebbe this year. The B'mizber Kuf Beis and chapter 102 Sheshayich Lasim Lishnas HaKuf Beis, which is connected to the end of finishing the 102nd year. Maschil B'Tfilah La'oni. It starts off with the prayer. So we start off with Tfilah. Tfilah La'oni. Behemshech HaMizmor Omer, and in continuation, Mizmor says, Tichtav Zois L'Rachten, write it down for the future generation. The Koyi Ala Torah She'nitzchis, that refers to Torah. Doir Achrein, eternal. That's, so we started the Tfilah, starts with Tfilah and then goes to Torah. And then the same thing, similarly, is in chapter 103. Sheshayich L'Shnas HaKuv Gimel, that is connected to the 103rd Maschil B'Yom HaYeledes, which starts from the day of the birthday. Shemaschil, it also begins, Baruchi Nafshi Es Hashem, praying Hashem, my soul blesses Hashem. Shu Tfilah, Shavach V'Edoya, it's a prayer of praise and thanks. And in continuation of Mizmor it says, Baruch Hu Hashem Malachov Geboirei Koyach Oiseh Dvorei Lishmoya B'Kol Dvorei. So over here he says, the Malachim bench Hashem, those mighty Malachim. So it says they do what he says and then they listen to what he says. The Gemara says, Bereisha Oisi, that's the secret of the Malachim, that first they do and then they listen. Hagdomas Naisa Lenishma. That is the introduction of Naisa for Nishma. That was the introduction of Kabbalah Satoida. So you have in the Mizmor Kuf Gimel as well. It starts off with Tefillah and then it ends with Torah. Hagdomas Naisa Nishma for Torah. Same thing is in Mizmor Kuf Beis, which is also explains the deal when the Mizritcher Magid uses the Lashon Moshe B'Tfilosei to emphasize that it's all shaykhs and connected to the level of Torah.